Hey, good morning and happy Monday, all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. News Roundup Day here on a Monday. Daniel Deitrich, this is Doug Pagitt here in Minneapolis, by the way. Good to see you. Hey, December 19th. It's a lot of days you could call this. You could say it's the start of the week before Christmas, because Christmas is on Sunday. It's the day after the World Cup. We'll be chatting about that. It's the day when the Congress Select Committee decides to send criminal referral to the Justice Department about the behavior of a former president. Just like a day that's going to be on a civics test for some sixth grader in 2072.
Right.
Could be that day. Could be the day when you realize what a absolute business failure Elon Musk is. I mean, it could be all of those, all things that we will have a chance to get to. In addition to the fact that there's a huge worker shortage in the United States, which is leading to inflation and leading to all kinds of struggles in our business world and just personal convenience of shopping, by the way, all caused because of the Trump era policies to drive migrants out of the country. In addition to, COVID and so on, but a huge thing. So we'll get to all of that. But first, a little Monday greeting. How are things there in Michigan, friend?
Oh, it's great. It's a regular winter wonderland. We got snow on the ground, icy roads.
Yeah.
People just sliding off into ditches left and right. People forget how to drive for the first couple weeks of, the first big snow.
Yes. And then they say, last year I thought I should get new tires and just didn't get around to that while they are on their phone on the side of the road. Crashed into the guardrail somewhere. Same thing here. Yesterday was one of those beautiful days here. I think when I woke up in the morning, it was 2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow.
So, almost no temperature when you hit zero. But it was clear blue skies. It had snowed 2 days earlier and there had been very little wind and the snow was still resting on the trees. It is just glorious. It's hard for people who don't know cold, like don't really have a sophisticated understanding of cold, that 2 degrees and sunny and no wind can be much more comfortable than 40 degrees cloudy with a stiff wind blowing in your face.
Yep.
And all depending on humidity levels, like when it's cold like that, it's super dry. And man, it's just spectacular. You get a damp cold at 40 and that wind blowing, just basically San Francisco.
Right.
And it is so much colder. So yesterday was one of, not today, it's just flat out cold. The humidity's up a little bit. The clouds are here. The wind is blowing. And it's miserable. But yesterday, boy, just the days that you can literally be outside without a jacket on at 2 degrees.
Yeah,
I don't know how it's
people don't realize you also have to worry about sunburn on days like that. You're going to get sunburn on your face if you're out there too long.
It's true. The reflection off the snow too, that really kicks it up. Well, thanks for the UV protection reminder. That's
always wear your sunscreen even on winter days.
Even on winter days. So hey, let us know in the chats where you are at and what the weather outside your window looks like, because we'd really love to know. Well, Dan, I hardly know where to start on all of this. I guess we start with January 6th. And in fact,
you're diving in. Wow. Okay.
Did you want to chit chat a little longer? Am I too eager beaver?
We can bring it back up at the end with some World Cup fun.
Oh, okay.
Lighten it up.
No. Good point. Yeah. Let's talk about the World Cup. What a match, huh?
Yeah. Did you watch it?
No, I only saw the highlights. I was busy walking around outside trying not to get sunburned in the snow.
So I actually watched it. It was one of maybe 4 matches I watched. I watched a couple of the U.S. games. And after those games and a couple others, I was like, wow, this is why I don't watch soccer. Because you could have, as they play for 90 minutes plus, and then it's 0-0 and the game just ends. And you're like, that was not fun to watch.
Really? But because they can end in a tie in a
earlier in the rounds you can just end in a draw and that's it. Never. Draw. But this game, just super exciting. It regular time ended. It's tied 3-3.
Wow.
and then it goes to
3-3.
the shootout, and just a lot of fun to watch. Ups and downs.
So the highlights that I saw, it seemed like there was a dozen of these penalty kicks. I know some of
Yeah.
those were shootouts at the end. Why were there so many? Why was the? And of course, the highlights were not, recounting the situation in the match every time.
Mm-hmm.
Why were there so many? Were all of those just at the end of the match to determine the winner?
Yeah, most of them were at the end. There was one toward the end of the game, a handball against Argentina that allowed France to take a penalty shot and tie it up, which led to the
Wow.
overtime and then eventually the shootout. But yeah, most of it was the shootout.
So in the shootout, how many kicks do they get?
Each team gets 5, unless in this case Argentina, I think, got 4, and France only had 2. There's no way for France to match that, so the Argentina just won.
Oh, I see. So there were 6 total kicks made in the penalty shootout?
No, there was I think 8. So
8?
France missed one, and then one of France's was blocked, and Argentina made all theirs. So.
Okay, all right.
But
I
the
saw a bunch
shootout
of those.
is
It was
just
incredible.
Yeah, I feel so bad for the goalies in these shootouts because they just have to guess which side of the net they're going to go for and just dive and hope that they're in the general vicinity, and then they just look like idiots when it's the total opposite direction.
Right, they're just trying to read their feet or something, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
There must be some skill and science to it. That's the part that's confusing to me about this, is that you hear regularly, and this is what I've appreciated about some of the soccer, football matches that I have seen, is that it's not all about scoring. So scoring is the limited thing. It's the rare activity that then breaks things open, more like baseball, so less like football and less like basketball, or so hockey maybe is closer, right? So there's all the intrigue that goes into then this moment where something surprising and shocking happens. So you have to set your mind on, it's not all about scoring, right? Like you might get in some other sports. You're watching the other things that make it interesting.
Right.
But then when the match is on the line, it just shifts to, it's just 100% about scoring. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing else. It's just, and it's the kind of activity at the end of it, in the shootout, that never happens in the game.
Right.
In the match.
Or rarely, yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, other than a penalty. But it's not like, I don't know, it's not like they just keep playing the normal game until someone scores first.
Right.
Like a
sudden death. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's this other sport you play then at the end, which is a whole set of other circumstances that would normally only happen during a playoff. So I don't know, that seems confusing to me. And I'm sure to a goaltender, what they call him? Goalkeeper, goaltender, goalie?
Yeah.
Goalkeeper. That's just got to be an insanely difficult thing at the level of professional, like the greatest players in the history of the world of this sport. Right? There's no one to match World Cup championship, penalty kickers. And your skill as a goalie, as a goalkeeper, can only be so great. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Compared to a guy who's kicking that ball at 70 miles an hour with a hook on it and can, there's so much unbelievable skill that goes into those people kicking like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, what's really funny or sad or
glad the world is
wild is there's this guy on the French team, Mbappe, and he scored a hat trick in the regular game. Scored 3 goals, and then
all of them,
and then scored another one in the shootout. So 4 goals total. Still loses. Probably had the best game of his career, and just
that's great.
Somehow still came away with the loss. But pretty fun to watch.
It just, I mean, so good. It's good for the world. When we were on vacation last couple weeks ago in Mexico, and Mexico was playing,
Mm.
the the palpable, encouraged feeling that the people at the resort who were from Mexico had about Mexico playing was just contagious, fantastic. The U.S. team was also playing, and the people that were at the resort from the U.S. just, barely seemed to care. People like, did they lose yet? Yeah, okay, all right,
Yeah,
and
we
that was.
expected that.
But boy, the thought of people from in Mexico, the thought of Mexico trying to, competing at the World Cup is really great. So there's something just really magical about it.
Yeah.
Really magical.
You know what else has been entertaining, but maybe less good for the world? Elon Musk running Twitter. So he decided he's
This
been
is
doing these
so
Twitter
shocking.
polls where he will, he's like, should I unban these people? Yes or no? And you do a Twitter poll. He last night he did one that said, should I step down as head of Twitter? I will abide by the results of this poll.
Unbelievable. This is like 5:20 in the evening.
Yep.
Do you know where he was yesterday? He
Was
was
he
at the
still?
World Cup,
Yeah, was he
wasn't
still
he?
in Qatar? Because he was at
Well,
the final.
I
I
think
don't.
so. I only know because I saw some video here where he's at the World Cup, and I guess I don't know what game it was. So maybe he flew home on his private jet, and on the way home, he thought, "How do I get out of this job? What's like the honorable Elon
Yeah,
Musk way to self-fire? Like
this isn't fun
how
anymore.
do
Yeah.
I yeah how do I find a way to illegally terminate myself like he did all those other employees?"
Right.
You know what I'll do? I'll ask a poll. Okay, so this is true business. He did a poll, and the poll came back with 57.5% saying yes, you should step down, and
Uh,
43%, which said no, you shouldn't. Do you think he thought it would be the other way? Do you think he was trying to own all the people that are like, hey, you all want me to quit, but the people want me here? Do you think he was like, there's no way that's, of the 17 million people or whatever number he imagined would guess, 17 million voted, would ultimately say by a plurality that he should resign? Do you have a guess?
I have no idea at this point. I can't tell if he's that out of touch with reality that he would miscalculate this badly, or if this is part of a like, okay, I know people are gonna vote me out, but I still own the thing. I'm still the chairman of the board. I
Yeah,
can put in whoever I want to take all the heat as CEO.
right.
And if they don't fix it, I'll fire them. And if they do fix it, I'll take credit for picking the right person. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me, because last week he went back to the people that helped him fund all this, including Saudi Arabia and other big hedge funds that helped him put the $44 billion together, and needed to ask them for more money. And my guess, knowing nothing about this, no insider track, is that they were all like, okay, this isn't working. And the reason advertisers have fled is because of your own individual personal behavior, not the function of the website, not the role of the CEO.
Yeah.
You as a human being is what everyone is talking about, and
And not
you
in a
are the
good way.
problem. So how do we get you out of this so that we can then go back to advertisers, because they need advertiser money, right? That's just absolutely
Yeah.
clear. It's an advertising platform.
Yeah. And his
So
whole thing was, I'm going to turn this around so it's making money again. And
yeah. Remember that he
instead,
bought a company that was losing $1 million a day, $2 million a day, and said, "I'm going to turn it around," and now it's totally collapsed.
yeah. A great little joke tweet though. One of I guess the first person to vote posted a screenshot, was like, I got the first vote. And then people were just having fun with this one yes vote that he should step down. Zach Hunt, at one vote in, says, stop the count. Just so many, like.
That is just a callback that is tremendous. I mean, I haven't been following too much of this today, but I'm sure there's all of the, stop the steal kinds of jokes going on about all this.
Totally.
Well, look, I mean, he's only been the CEO because he bought the company like 3 months ago. Is that right? 4 months ago?
Yeah, 2 months ago, even? When was it?
Is that
Yeah.
true? 2 months? So is it possible that he was the CEO for less time than that person was the prime minister of Britain?
Yeah, who lasted longer?
Or that Michael Flynn was the national security director before he was convicted, arrested by the FBI.
Right.
You just, I mean, the spectacular level of failure. I saw on John Oliver's show, they played a video clip of Elon Musk speaking at a big conference recently, like in the last, few weeks. Did you see this video where it's a conference in a big room and they have him up on the screen and he's got an all black background and all you see is his face
Oh gosh.
and he's exhausted and he's like, I've been working 24 hours a day for 7 days a week. This is not good. I can't go on. Like he is just spiraling. It is
Oh
something
wow.
really, truly worth Googling. And, John Oliver, of course, is John Oliver about it. And,
Yeah.
but he's just really, as John Oliver put it, in a very literally and figuratively dark space because you're just like, this guy, what is he doing? Like, why on earth is the man whose primary business is now not on earth spending his time in Twitter arguments instead of just like running SpaceX
Yeah.
or working on batteries or doing whatever, I just,
Yeah, it blows my mind. He could, and just to point out again that with $44 billion, he could have just solved world hunger. Like he
yeah,
he could have gone down in history as the guy that saved the world,
yeah.
but
Like
instead he bought
yeah.
an app and
Yeah.
ruined it.
Thank you. Dale says it was the Environmental World Conference in Indonesia. So if someone's looking that up, thank you, Dale. Yeah, that's Dale. Maybe you felt similarly when you saw it. It was I felt a deep pain of empathy for the guy. Like, oh my gosh, because all in all, you push all the things and all the billionaire and all the eccentric this and that. At the end, it's just a guy. Right? Just a regular old human being with the same psychological patterns going on in his brain that all the rest of us have, and just that. And he is having a horrible, horrible time. It's really something to behold. But when I was a kid, the eccentric billionaire of the world was Howard Hughes. Do you remember? Do you remember anything about that guy, or did you see
Not really.
the movie? Okay,
I
so
saw the movie, yeah.
Howard Hughes was, as wealthy as there was, and owned Pan Am Airlines, but similarly just had a real psychological break to the point that I think he died like cloistered in a room. And I remember this pictures of his long fingernails, like he had a fetish about not cutting his fingernails. His fingernails were super long and curled up, but like he had a he was a genius at some level and a wealthiest person in the world. And yeah, as Dale says, he was a germaphobe and all kinds of issues going on. And he just really cracked. And he was a cautionary tale that a lot of people who are trying to say like, hey, your life should be about more. Cause even someone like Howard Hughes, who has all the money in the world, is someone who doesn't have any, people around or relationships and so on and so forth. Yeah, I like what you did there on that last one though. That was like having Elon Musk on that video, like just the dark Dan,
dark silhouette.
just dark Dan. we should incorporate that. Hi, Dan. Yeah, if you're like, hey, this is going in a place I really don't want it to go. So all that to say, there's just a history of wealthy people losing their psychological bearings. It's not uncommon for all the. There's many people's eccentricities get covered up just because of their wealth. then someone like Elon Musk makes sure that he's just out there, and it's just making one bad decision after the other. But I did see someone wrote something where they said, look, if Elon Musk spent $44 billion, some of it his own, some of it, the Saudis, simply to expose what a failure Twitter is to the human goodness and consciousness of the world, then that's money well spent. Thank you for your contribution to humankind, and I couldn't be happier, because that thing has truly devolved into just something that is not, I don't know, 10 years ago, there was so much hope, there was so much potential around its usefulness, and so many people, benefited from it and did good things with it. And I don't know, it just feels to me like it's completely gone off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a moment where it was like the way that revolutionaries were organizing the Arab Spring, and like it was a useful tool. And
you could talk to companies, you got access to people, you felt people, there was crowdsourcing, like there was the stuff people still like about it, and people that are still Twitterites will say things like, no, you guys are focusing on the 3% of Nuttyville. The rest of it still is that way. And that's how it is. I don't know.
I did see where, Elon posted this poll, and then Tom from MySpace said, well, if you need a new CEO, like kind of raised his hand.
Really?
And everyone was just like, yes. Bring back MySpace.
I mean, this is just great. See, that would be the other thing you do with Elon Musk's temperament, personality, and interest in Twitter is not this, but to just kind of do the Ryan Reynolds, is that his name? Ryan Reynolds, the actor. He bought this cell phone company and this gin company and then this soccer team over in Scotland.
Yeah.
Like you get somebody that's fun, right? That their job is to be interesting and positive, and like that guy or woman, right? That just comes in and is like, hey, Rosie O'Donnell kind of person, we're just this thing is gonna really be great. And they've just become a Twitter enthusiast. But the thing about Twitter all along is it's just had this like edgy, heavy, the way it's designed, the black and white, just everything about it, from Jack Dorsey when he was running it, that kind of bro man attitude, and we're serious players. I don't know. It just has that vibe about it as a social network. We're like, China owned TikTok, or even kind of Instagram, or these other things. They're playful, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a sense of exploration and all the rest. Hey, thanks, Todd. Saying this looks awesome. Who are these guys? Well,
great question.
Right now it's Doug and Dan on any given day. It could be a collection of people. We do a lot of guests and others. But thanks for the compliment. We use Ecamm, by the way, and top quality cameras. That's the trick. So if that's interesting to you, keep your eyes on this space, because we're going to be making available for people how to be tutored in the very things that we do around here. And yeah, as Dale says, it's meant for bullies and others, and it's just kind of set up in a crowdsourcing, bullying kind of tone. It doesn't have to be that way, and maybe that's the future of it, right? Make Twitter fun again, kind of vibe. Find a way to benefit positive things that are on there, right? Maybe other kinds of affirmations that you give that are just more humane, more human.
Right.
I don't know.
Which is funny, because that's what, previous to Musk, they were trying to do with like limiting free speech, quote unquote. No, they were trying to get rid of the bullies.
Yeah.
They're trying to get rid of the hate speech and the horrible, like, and Musk comes in and says, oh, we're inviting all them back on, because that's what made it great, is people could say any horrible thing to anyone. And everyone just has to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, why we're spending all this time, I don't know, but look, the internet is already by design a free speech space. That's what it is. You can start a blog, you can post things on dozens and dozens of social platforms, which we know because we put this very live stream out on half a dozen platforms and multiple pages. You can make videos, you can make audio, you can do all kinds of things on the internet. Twitter is not the internet, and Twitter is not the sole place for people to express free speech.
Right.
You can do it all over. You could have Twitter be a curated space of positivity or goodness or honesty, but like the thing you're going to pick is free speech, man. I can say whatever I want. Like that attitude is just, it's not needed. And it's just like, that's not the thing that people want. People curate, all of us, we curate the content we get in our lives intentionally and sometimes just sort of happenstantially, but we curate it all based on what we want, not based on the freedom someone has to say things. I mean, go to a news rack, or go even literally now in a post-book age, go to a bookstore, just open up Bing or DuckDuckGo or Google, and you'll just get all kinds of access to content galore. There's no limit to free speech on the internet.
Right.
Why that's the thing that these that the Twitterites chose to pick is just something else.
Well,
and then there's not even that many people on it comparatively, right?
Yeah.
You know, compared to the size of the planet or the size of the country or
population,
the number of people on the internet, you know.
But it also shows people don't understand what free speech is. Like, the whole First Amendment isn't about what a private company can say or let people do on their, platform.
Their user agreement.
It's about
rules.
The government preventing you from saying whatever.
Yes.
And often these are the same people that don't want the government to interfere, but they apparently want to tell some private companies that they have to let horrible people be on their platforms.
I mean, the confusion is galore. They want to ban books in libraries, and they want there to be free speech on Twitter. It's the confusion is nearly intentional.
Well, hey, a lot of other wild stuff happening in the world. So, do we want to?
Okay, NFTs. Do we just stay right in the same vein? All right. So last Thursday, Donald Trump put out on yet again another free speech social media site called Truth Social that there was a big announcement coming on Thursday, and that stirred up some speculation because Donald Trump is somebody who is had incredible positive impact on the Democratic Party and Democratic elected officials around the country. No one's done more to help the Democratic movement than the Democratic Party than Donald Trump. And, as a twice impeached failed presidential candidate who's now announced again that he's going to run for office and might be relaunching his steak company and his failed university. And apparently might be buying a casino. He might try to do all three things that he was a failure at. He might try to do all of those together while running for office.
If at first you don't succeed,
he made a announcement about an announcement, which is just classic Trump, that a big announcement was coming. So people were like, okay, what's he going to do? Is he going to announce running mate? Maybe he's going to announce a policy position. Maybe he's going to say he's launching some new office somewhere to really make things happen. Maybe he's going to launch a new political party. A lot of people speculated on that one. Turns out, no, it wasn't those things. Those are probably yet to come, after he relaunches the steak company and the failed university and maybe the casinos. He was launching an NFT project built around his own images, doing things that are impossible, like him in a military outfit because he's a draft dodger,
right?
And shooting lasers out of his eyes, and carrying a gun with a cowboy hat and literally riding an elephant. Literally, that's the one, Dan. When I saw, the riding an elephant in an effort to pitch something that could be even more exciting than baseball cards. His quote, potentially more exciting than baseball cards. He launched an NFT project, which are graphic images that then you can buy the ownership to, and there's some limited number of official ones that you can own. Not to be confused with the screenshots that people are going to take of these very same things,
Not to
because
be
they're just
confused with the
graphic,
images we have on the screen currently. Yeah.
and they are low grade, crappy versions of Photoshop.
Well, and in classic Trump fashion, they're stolen images. These are images taken from other photographers or artists, and then someone photoshopped Trump onto them. So on the screen we have one where it's Trump in a flight suit wearing like a fighter jet pilot thing, and the person forgot to completely remove the watermark, and so someone found the actual stock image of this pilot that they ripped off, and then they just photoshopped Trump's face on it. And just like the sloppiest rip-off.
On the screen, the thing circled there is the watermark.
So you see, it's like a buckle that's...
Yeah.
But at the bottom of it, there's this weird thing sort of sticking off the bottom of the buckle.
Yep.
That's part of the watermark that they just
forgot to
erase fully.
Oh, I see. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so of course, why? I mean, I just feel I have a childlike wonder when I'm around Donald Trump. Here's why. Because I should be cynical by now. I should be hardened. I should be grisly. But like a child in love with a puppy, every time he does something else that's criminal, I'm like, how in the world did he do that? Right? So I just think, wow, I'm glad I still have that childlike capacity.
Childlike wonder,
That you just think, okay, whatever griff he's putting together here to try to, make X amount of dollars, somebody's just doing the basic stuff, just the simplest, most routine work, like not stealing images that then you're going to try to say, we own this image. I mean, oh my gosh, it's just the clown show of this is, and look, everybody turned on him on it, from Steve Bannon and the whole crowd. They were all just like, okay, he's just lost his absolute marbles. And then they do the thing you do when you're around somebody that you want to still keep their authority and say, oh, sir, you took bad advice. At some point, you're responsible for taking bad advice. Like, don't elect someone president who takes bad advice. How about that? That should be like rule number one, that you actually know how to, determine the advice that comes to you, whether it's good advice or not.
And maybe this would have been slightly better advice had it been a few months ago before the NFT market just crashed and everyone saw it as the sort of Beanie Baby Ponzi scheme that it is. But no, this is like late to the game.
Yes.
Just like completely missed the moment and did it with really dumb looking pirated images.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. They are horrible images. They're silly. I'm just trying to find. I'm trying not to be a 5-year-old about my response to it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, Alex nails it, saying he's just an emotional child, and it is. And did you see the announcement video? I mean, I don't know if you got to pull, but I watched the video. In it, you can see him. It's kind of like the video that he put out during the January 6th insurrection, where you could tell he did not want to say those things. Or the video he put out after, he was caught on recording saying that he could assault women and they liked it when he did it. Or the video of him saying that what he really said about Putin was, I don't know why he wouldn't do it. All of those hostage-like videos that he puts out where he finally has to say, like, I didn't mean to say the thing I actually did. He had that kind of tone to it. And he was like, I'm not even sure this even makes any sense. Like, hey, and then, if you buy $4,500 worth of these, then you're in a drawing, and if you win the drawing, you have dinner with me. Do you see that? He's like, I'm not even sure dinner with me is all that valuable of a thing. Yeah, it's not that valuable of a thing, because last week you had dinner with a white nationalist and a Nazi sympathizer. So yeah, you kind of downgraded what the value is of having dinner with you. And he even knows maybe having dinner with me isn't that big of a deal. Like, why would somebody spend $4,500 on that? I don't know. Somebody thinks this is a good idea.
Yeah, someone in his orbit said, "Hey, you want to make a quick buck? We put out these trading cards." And he's like, "That sounds dumb, but yeah, I'll do it. I'll say this."
Just like every other stupid thing that he's just been led into. Like that time. Hey, remember the time when he said, "Do you think if we pour bleach in their lungs in the middle of a pandemic that's going to kill 1 million Americans and 10 million people worldwide?" And he's like, "I don't know, maybe we could shine light down in their lungs." Like, the level of not knowing what's a good idea and not a good idea is so replete with this guy. It is unbelievable. And people are like, he's just a great marketer. That's all this is, just a genius marketer.
Well,
no, he's not. These are the crappy ideas.
As Susan points out, somehow they sold out in 24 hours. Someone bought these.
Okay, let me explain how this works. Friends, I'm going to get serious for a minute here. Hang on a second.
I'm going to get serious.
You buy them yourself. Let me tell you how this works. It's like
the
people
New York
that,
Times bestseller.
Yes,
Yeah.
This is how people get kicked off the New York Times. This is how the children of Donald Trump had bestsellers. They fund outside efforts, companies, to buy their books with their own money to boost their standing in bestsellers list. That's what's going on here. Look, it's not like they launched this thing and as stupid as they are, that they were going to say, let's just let them sit there and languish. They were already prepared with lots of money to buy things from themselves, so it costs them no money. I promise you. Ask the Trump people for an accounting of these. See if there's, 4 million people that say, I bought one. Go ahead. Have everyone who bought one of these stupid NFTs post it somewhere. You ain't getting 4 million people, because that's what the grift is all about. Hey, let's rank. This was their pitch all along. Let's make them seem like they're valuable, like people want them. You know how you know this? In the announcement video, he says, and I think they're going to sell out pretty well. That's what I've heard. Yeah, because this is all just made up nonsense. You bought them yourself. Oh my gosh. It's just, So yeah, that's that. And yes, someone spent $99. And actually, if you are a collector of like presidential and kitschy what's it called? Kitschy products, you probably spend $99 on one of these things, right? In some little collection of the most ridiculous one that then you own forever and can do whatever you want. But people aren't buying them because they wanted them on their computer. You think there's $4 million people who follow Trump who understand the value of NFTs? Like they're going to then license these? The moon? It's just... Yeah. And Dan, here's the other thing about this. The same man, Donald J. Trump, is going to be referred to the Justice Department by a special committee of Congress today for crimes that he committed while president. That same guy is off doing this. That same guy announced 3 weeks ago that he is a candidate for the presidency of the United States. And what is he doing? Not running for president, not building a party, not funding efforts for democracy. He's pitching this stuff.
Yeah.
It's the lunacy of it all is just incredible.
Yeah. And I like to think, though, 50, 100 years from now, when Antiques Roadshow is still going, and someone pulls out some ancient tablet with this digital NFT on it. I wonder what it's going to be worth, you know?
Yep. Yeah, it's just something else. Now, Jennifer in the comments makes an important comment here. She says 100 max. So if you stay under the 10K Finance Act, and they sold out. So she's saying that, they're $99. You can buy 100 of them. But here's the thing. None of this project is going to his campaign, as far as I understand it. This is just a private business deal. This isn't even like Donald Trump presidential campaign business. This is just $99 going to him, as far as I understand. I could be wrong, Jennifer. Maybe you know the details about that.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Yeah.
But what if Jennifer's onto something in her last comment? It's foreigners paying him for his secret docs, or anybody paying for his secret docs,
influence or whatever. Yeah.
Maybe this is the way that those documents are being sold, so they can cover them up. So it's just a big money laundering. Like, it came in the NFT that we emailed you, which also came with this attachment of those secret documents that he stole from the presidential archives and has in his pool shack down there at his bed bug infested resort. You know, that whole thing about they had big bed bug problems down there at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, just
larger than regular bed bugs. Huge.
Huge.
Many are saying the largest bed bugs. How long do you think before Trump is on that Cameo app doing like paid birthday announcements for your grandpa, you know, like
totally. If he's like, Rudy, how much you making on that thing? I mean, it also just makes him look so cheap and broke, right?
Like Obama's out there making these beautifully shot nature documentaries and like on Netflix. And then you got these.
I mean, to be honest, this looks like the kind of stuff we would sell. Like,
I wouldn't be caught dead selling something this.
Yeah, we'd be like, hey, for $99,
designed.
If we could get somebody to buy these things, we could keep our enterprise of pursuing the common good through the voting booth alive. Yeah, this is what you do when you're like scraping and scrambling. It's not what you do if you're a billionaire, which according to your taxes, you're not. And it's not what you do after you've been, just pause for a moment for let it settle in, the president of the United States, unless you're so broke that you're like, we need the money. I mean, honestly, what else? Unless it's your taste in product is so bad that you're like, no, that one of me standing bigger than the earth, where the moon now is somehow bigger than the earth in the background, that's just classy. And the Photoshopper, you know what they did? They put Joe Biden sunglasses on him. That's the other one. If people are only listening to the podcast, honest to goodness, look at the one where he's in the spacesuit. A number of them, actually. He's got the Joe Biden glasses on.
Totally.
What an homage. It's like the man wants to be president, like the real president. Oh, okay. Just exhausting.
Yeah. But it's some real life consequences might be coming down the line today. January 6th committee is having their last hearing.
Well, that's the other thing. Same day.
It sounds like they're going to recommend criminal charges for a former president, which has never happened in American history.
No, and it could have with, Richard Nixon.
Right.
And it could have with Ronald Reagan because of the Iran-Contra affair and activities when they stole money from the federal government and then put it in duffel bags. And Oliver North, some guy who's also a supporter of Trump and all these others, broke federal law. Could have done it there, but didn't have to do it. Didn't have to do it in either of those situations. Donald Trump's criminality is so violent, so dangerous, so cataclysmic to the future of democracy in the United States. This is what it takes. So we're going to
Yeah.
be talking about that. We're going to cover it live. So Alex, hope you can join us. We're going to be covering it live on on all these channels. We'll have the live stream of it going on here. So if you want to watch the final hearing today, that's at 1 o'clock Eastern time. If you're in the Central Time Zone, that's noon, and then you figure out, from there 11, 10, and 8, and wherever it is that you live. We're going to be following it and talking about it because it's monumental and consequential, and something's going to come out, more information apparently than what we already know. And some of us have watched every one of these hearings and know what's up, but there's even more data and more information coming about the criminality and the seriousness of this panel. And Dan, I think there's 9 people on this panel. I think that's right. Let me check that. 3 of those people, at least, are not returning to Congress. 2 of the 2 Republicans are not returning because they, after voting for Donald Trump in November of 2020, feeling like he was then the best choice. Mm-hmm. Since then, Liz Cheney and Adam Kissinger. Why do I mess it up every time? You know why? Because the guy just drives me crazy. After voting for Trump, then they decided that no, only after January 6th were his crimes so bad that they couldn't support the man anymore. So, they finally came to their senses, but a very, very low bar for them of what would make the man acceptable to be the next president of the United States.
Yeah, all he had to do was not do an insurrection, and they would have been fine with all the other stuff.
Everything else, my guy. Because I put country above party, unless it's, in November of 2020 when I'm voting. And then, I put party above everything else. And then I'm going to run around and talk about what a hero I am. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm going to go off on it again if I'm not careful. But they're not returning to Congress. And one of the Democrats lost her seat, is not returning. So great consequence for your being in Congress to be on this committee. It's cost people their jobs in Congress. It's not a life crushing activity when you lose your congressional seat, though. Everybody lands on their feet, right?
Their feet.
Yeah, you're doing all right. After that, it's not. There's people that have life altering job losses. This isn't one of them. So don't be out, whining about how much it cost you. What, it costs you because now you don't get to serve America as a congressperson? Well, that's not what people mean by cost. Mm-hmm. That guy. Thank you, Alex. Alex is now going to rearrange her errands. Alex, you are a champ. Appreciate it. But this committee is serious in its business. And look, it doesn't mean he's being charged with a crime. It means that an equal branch of the government is saying to the Justice Department, we looked into this. As far as we can tell, there was crimes committed. Here's the evidence. And they're going to give it all to them. And they're going to have it laid out in a particular way. The other thing that it does is it says to the public, he committed crimes. Mm-hmm. Look, if you're in the Justice Department, if you're Merrick Garland, Attorney General, you don't want Congress saying out loud to the American people in prime time and web streamed, broadcasts, the President of the United States in 2020 committed crimes. You don't want the American people being like, hey, what's going on with that crime he committed? We saw all the evidence.
Why hasn't he been charged yet?
Yeah, this is not a great situation. One of the criminal referrals that looks like it's likely for them to pass on to the Justice Department is one that actually has teeth, and that is a contempt of Congress charge. When Congress said to Steve Bannon or to Donald Trump, we're subpoenaing you to come and talk to us, and they defied the subpoena, the only way that crime gets prosecuted is if Congress says to the Justice Department, we want you to prosecute this crime. They can put out a subpoena, a person can ignore the subpoena, and if Congress doesn't send a criminal referral to the Justice Department can't do anything about it. Okay, it's sort of like pressing charges. They could do that to Donald Trump as well. Say that he was supposed to answer our subpoena, he didn't. We want you to press that charge. Now, his defense could be, I'm the former president of the United States. I don't have to answer to Congress about my time in office. That could be the deal. But he has to respond to it, and he chose not to. So that one could actually be something that the Justice Department can act on, and act on even more quickly than the rest. But my guess, Dan, and I've said this a bunch of times, so people might get bored with it if you listen to this on a regular basis, they're going to end up bundling, this is what I think the Justice Department will do, bundling all the charges, the ones from Georgia, the ones from New York, the tax fraud, the insurrection, the interfering with the government, the subpoenas, the document. I mean, just go on and on. The documents, the lying to the FBI, all of this stuff. We're going to bundle all of it together into a plea deal for Donald Trump.
And they're going to say, here's what's stacked against you. Do you want to
do you want this to go? Yep. And then they're going to put together some kind of a plan and some kind of an agreement. And he's never going to serve a day in jail.
Yeah, there's no way that's going to happen. But
because you can't put a former president in jail. I know we believe in equal justice under law, and that means that every person should be charged the same. They're not in our system, and it would not be good to have, while Joe Biden is president, Donald Trump in jail. Or while Kamala Harris is president, or while, Rick Scott is president, anybody. You don't want a former president going to jail. It's
not a good look.
We have to acknowledge that the country made an enormous mistake. The man is a criminal and the consequences are doled out, but that's one we're just not going to do because it just reflects so harmfully on the country. Lots of people I know argue with me the other way, and they say if he doesn't go to jail, then that really diminishes the Justice Department and the power of punishment. But I just think it doesn't make sense. So all of this stuff is coming together to do something about it. And one of those charges that he can be charged on, insurrection, if he's found guilty, which again, he's then got to go before a jury, and then you need a jury to convict on all of these charges. And that's just another thing you don't want, because there's not special courts for former presidents to go to account for their crimes. It's not like the military.
Jury of your peers if you were the president? You have to get all the other former presidents to vote on it?
That's awesome. Why don't they do that? Why don't they get all the other presidents and people that were in, presidential succession and make that the pool and have that be your jury? Oh yeah. Then he probably would go to jail. I think that crew would happily put him in jail
for sure.
From both sides. Both sides.
Yeah, if you
but
got
there's not
George
a special
W.
trial
coming out against you, then you've done something bad.
That's right. He's going to paint you a picture of you in jail. Because there's not a special court that you go to. It's just going to be in a federal courtroom with a federal jury, just like every other federal criminal. And that is the spectacle that this would be and the energy it would suck from the country. When Nixon resigned and Ford, who was the vice president, then became the president and pardoned him. Part of the reason that he pardoned him and what he said in the pardon announcement was, hopefully through this pardon, this long national nightmare is finally over. And here's the thing. This is true in all criminal justice reform and everything else. Punishment of a criminal rarely satisfies the vengeance desires of victims. It just rarely happens. Anybody who's been wronged and someone's been charged with a crime knows that you might feel better that justice was served, or that the person was called to account, or that they're no longer a threat or danger and people believed all the important things. But it doesn't solve the problem for you. It doesn't make you whole. It doesn't make things better. Donald Trump going to jail doesn't make any of the stuff he did better. Donald Trump being forbade from ever holding public office or public trust again, that does the ticket. And this is the thing about any kind of punishment. Is punishment designed for punitive cause? Is punishment designed to help change a person? Is it restorative? Or is justice done to protect? These are three things that are always part of any consequent punishment, however you want to put it. It's true if you're like having to dole it out at work, or in a family, child situation, or in a criminal case, anything like this. Do you want the person to suffer? Is there a certain amount of just pain someone should experience? Are you trying to protect the future, or are you trying to rehabilitate? Well, two of those things, they don't do any good for the country. Rehabilitating Donald Trump, come on. I mean, he's not going to live long enough to be, the guy is in my view, is a serial criminal. Punishment? Okay, so he goes to a maximum security federal prison. Okay, what? Everybody feels like things are better. What's the one thing? He can never do this to the United States again. That makes us all rest easy. And if people think, well, somebody else will do it if he doesn't go to jail, the consequence this guy has paid already, he's literally at such a degraded point. You know what he did, Dan? He started selling pictures of himself that were
Badly
made on a
drawn
crappy
pictures
PC with Photoshop. I mean, you just show the NFTs to future presidents and future wannabe dictators, and you're like, hey, you do what Donald Trump did. This is what you're going to be doing. You're not making
You go
license
down
plates
this
at the
road,
federal penitentiary.
You're making
You
NFTs.
Yeah. Hey, maybe that's a new way to pitch all this. This was Donald Trump admitting to his crimes and saying, I'm paying penance. I'm doing it. I'm guilty as charged.
Yep.
That's a pretty good shtick right there. Yeah, that's a pretty good shtick.
But yeah,
All
we're
right.
still, even though Trump is out of office, we're still dealing with the repercussions of his policies. And one of those that hasn't got a lot of talking time, but we've been talking about it for the last couple of years, is Trump's immigrant crackdown left a critical shortage of workers in the U.S. So this is a lasting effect on our economy, is Trump cutting off the flow of people that would like to work here and have worked here in the past and can no longer travel back and forth across our border.
And look, the from Title 42, which was the ability to keep refugees from coming in the country, to just the hard crackdown that we did on COVID, shutting down our borders, all that just in, from 2020 forward, but in 2018 and 2019, telling migrants that they're not welcome here caused a negative amount of immigration to happen in the United States, meaning more people left the country than came in. The United States economy cannot function when that's the case. We have built an economy that expects there to be workers in the United States who are not citizens. What we need is worker programs where people can come in the country, work, leave, and come back. That has been closed off, and it's damaged the economy severely. And for a while, people were saying like, oh, there's no way that it was enough, that it was migration limits that was causing a problem in our workforce. They've now run the numbers. They're now saying it's like 3.5 million workers have been lost. A couple of months ago, they were saying it was closer to 2 million workers. That's a serious, serious consequence. It's one of the things, and the Biden administration is now revamping the immigration system seriously. I was on a call last week with people, making a big announcement from the White House about this. It's important. It's good work, stuff that we're going to be involved in at Vote Common Good. But we have to rethink the way we think about immigration and create. I know people get freaked out about the word open borders, but what we want is we want borders that we can cross both directions. See, when I went to Mexico, I flew into Mexico, got off the airplane, showed my passport, and then went home. I can come and go from Mexico nonstop. If I want to go work in Mexico for 3 weeks, if I want to go work there for 6 months, if I have a temporary work visa, I can just come and go. What happens in the United States is we limit how many people can come work in the United States, how they get these work visas, what happens when they get that. Once somebody gets in the country, they're like, if I leave, I don't know if I'm ever going to get back in again. So I'm not leaving. The answer to illegal overstaying of visas is to create a pathway back and forth so people can come and go. How do we know this works? Because previous to the Trump administration, within 100 miles of the US border, there was a different set of rules about who could come into the country. In other words, you could cross the US-Mexico border, but your permission to be in the country was distance dependent. You had a 100-mile radius. The reason is because all along the border from Tijuana all the way down to the tip of Texas, that whole stretch there, there's communities, Dan, we know them well, we rode bikes through them, that are built on migration back and forth on a daily basis. People come in the United States to shop, people go to Mexico to shop, there's just constant flow. And this 100-mile little ribbon across that stretch allowed people to come and go from into the United States all the time. Students could come and go. It was just constant freedom. You were limited. You couldn't go further inland in the country because then you needed another kind of visa. But you had like this special visa to be within 100 miles of the border to allow the thriving to happen. That same that was shut down by the Trump administration. That needs to be reopened by the Biden administration, which is happening now, and needs to be extended to the whole country and let people come in and go out. The reason they've limited all of this, the primary argument was people coming into the country like that are going to take jobs from people who are living in other places in the country. That's not now the problem. The problem is the opposite. There's too many jobs. And we just need to build a resiliency into the system and allow people to come and go, allow more and more people to come in. So the primary question, and I'll end with this one. The primary question is, why don't these people who are in the country illegally, why don't they come to the country legally? It's always the question the conservatives ask.
Yep.
Why don't they come legally? Why don't they come to the country legally? It's the right question. And the answer is because there's not a way to come legally.
Yep.
There's a quota system that no more than 15% of total number of immigrants allowed in the United States can come from any one country. Just let that math settle in for a minute. No more than 15% can come from any one country. There's 100 countries. So you have a mass amount of people from Central America and Mexico that want to come work in the United States, and far less from, Uruguay and Chile and France and Poland. Far less people that want to come work for 6 months in the United States. But we have a limit on the number of people that can come in, and this quota system is killing the country, and it's got to go. Now, this quota system has been in place. It wasn't a Trump idea. It's been in place forever. Used to keep out Italian born people, used to keep out Irish, used to keep out Chinese, and we've used it to exclude all kinds of people.
Right. It was never about fairness. It was always cover for keeping out the wrong people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So find a way for them to come to the country legally, extend the number of work visas, allow people to come and go freely and much more comfortably, and we could solve this problem in a minute. I mean, the way you solve illegal immigration is, should have a thing for a drum roll, is make it legal to come in the country.
Yeah, just
that's how you solve illegal. Change the laws. If what you're really bothered by is, because I hear this a lot from people. We really want migrants here. I just want them to come legally. Well, then why don't we change the rules so that when they come, they can come in the country legally. Then there would be no illegal immigration. I would say this on the bike ride when we were touring, because we rode our bikes. You can see the We the People Ride.org. And I was in this little, we stayed at an RV park that had a golf course, and it was very, very simple. But the golf course had a little clubhouse, and the clubhouse had people sitting in it. That's how it goes. And told the people what we were up to, and they were all watching Fox News and very anti-immigrant kinds of folks. And they said, well, my problem is just that these are lawbreakers and they're coming to the country. And I said, well, why don't we just change the laws then, so that when they come in the country, they're here legally? If that's your problem,
right?
They said, well, then there'd be too many of them. Like, okay, so that's really your problem, right? Okay,
there it is.
Yeah. Your problem isn't that they're coming illegally. Your problem is you don't want that many of them. So, okay, as long as we can just talk about that. But instead, it's like we have to have laws and you have to have borders and you can't be a country and blah, blah. Like, that's just not what anybody's... It's not what anybody means by this stuff. So, all right, we can get to that. We can get to that later. But a big news story that in the midst of it all, there's a lot to pay attention to, and so much of it is so ridiculous, and then so much of it is so actually serious.
Yep. With all the NFT nonsense and Twitter nonsense, it's easy to lose sight of the very important things that are actually going on.
NFT, no effing Trump. That's what she said. By the way, NFT stands for non-fungible token, which, if anything, should have told you that NFTs weren't going to be the thing. The word fungible is in there, and the word token, non-fungible token, is what NFTs are. It's just so ridiculous.
And Dale says the people they see on TV are legal. They are seeking asylum. You don't see the illegal ones. How do people not get this? Right on, Dale. We harp on this all the time. Share that soapbox. People are complaining that people are coming to this country illegally, but they are seeking asylum, which is a legal, globally recognized human right.
Yeah, conflating two groups of people trying to come in the country, those who are coming in the country to seek asylum, and those who are coming in the country not seeking asylum. If you come to the country and come across the border and say, I'm seeking asylum, that is not illegal. There are people that are coming in the country without legal authorization because they're coming to work, or they're coming to be with family, or they're coming to just hang out and go to the beach or whatever they're going to do. That's a different group of people than people that are coming for asylum. So you got to separate those two. And this is the big rush on the border that people are talking about, are people seeking refugee status. It is the only way to get refugee status.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's happening on that front. So, all right. Hey, the same stream places, we're going to be back with the live covering of the hearing in an hour and a half. So if you want to watch the final installment of the January 6th special select committee, you can watch that with us. And we'll be back tomorrow with politics. We don't even talk really politics today. We just talked nonsense. So much nonsense.
Yep.
All right. We good?
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dale. Thanks, Alex. I know you were
Kimberly,
in there.
James. Yeah.
What does James say about before Reagan? Yeah. Before Reagan, the borders were completely open, and what happened was people would come from Mexico and work on the farms or as day workers and then go back, and it was seasonal. But once Reagan closed the borders, people realized they might not be able to come and go, and no one talks about that. Yeah, I mean, James, you're just exactly right. A change in our policies about our border have just really been a problem, and not all politicians understand it. Not all voters understand it. Not all Democrats understand it. And more Republicans than you might think understand it, by the way. It's not all of them, of course not. But, more of it, they know. They know what nonsense they're pushing.
Yep.
Okay. Is that good? We say thanks to all the good people?
Yeah, Linda, Rufino, Jennifer, Susan. Yeah, thanks, everybody.
And if you don't see all those, because we put this on multiple streams, so if you're watching on Twitch, or you're watching on Twitter, or you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, you might be seeing different comments. So the best place for you to watch is over on YouTube. So watch over there, would you? And subscribe and like and all that stuff on our channel. Lots of things. And if you were to ever miss one of these, it's the easiest place to keep up.
Yep.
It's over there on that channel.